Thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring this video.
Welcome to our short film series. In this first episode, we're covering the worst part, pre-production. Everything from assembling a crew and casting, to wardrobe, set design, location scouting, and production meetings. We'll tell you all about our terribly misconceived original budget and plans, and then what we actually ended up doing and spending. Buckle in, biatches. Before we get started, we want to admit something. We've always been big advocates for focusing on storytelling over gear, and while our latest short film is chock full of heart, it also costs an ass ton to make it.
And sometimes you just really want to shoot on Alexa.
We'll get to that later, but if you're looking for a budget-friendly short film tutorial, you should check out this one that we made for one of our award-winning shorts we shot on an iPhone a few years back. The rest of you, right this way. When we first set out to make this 27-page narrative short film, we thought we could do it in 3 days with a 6-person crew and a $10,000 budget. And that did not happen. The first step was finding a writer-director. I've been taking screenwriting classes for the past 7 years. I've written several pilots, features, and short films, so this was right up my alley. I decided to write a short film based on the world and characters of my favorite TV pilot that I've written. Let us know if you want to see a separate video about screenwriting, because we've got a lot of other stuff to get to in this one. The next step was finding a swaggy producer, and that was actually the easiest part. Jess is an experienced editor, director, and producer whom Daniel worked with at his last job back in LA. Along with her producing skills, she also is just like a world-class gasser-upper who really made me believe that I could do this, which was crucial. Once Jae Rue was on our side, she helped us lock in the rest of our crew. What we found immediately is that some people were genuinely excited about the project and others were just looking for a paycheck, and the right people were always the former, which is how we landed our DP.
Nice to meet you too.
Jason Chiu is a Chicago local who shot the first 2 seasons of the Joe Perry Talks With You show, and this commercial, and this narrative feature.
Then it's mainly mental?
100% mental, Dad.
And he was genuinely interested in being part of this project despite his busy schedule. Total score. One of the cool things about Jason is he came preloaded with people he already works well with, so on his recommendation we hired Josh as a first AC, Ethan as a grip, and Tommy as a gaffer. Next came 2 PAs, plus my sister who helped out 2 of the shoot days. Liv hopped on for makeup, and she brought on Kaleb for hair. Finally, Jess's husband Marcos generously agreed to be our sound guy. That's what he does for a living, so that worked out great. And that was it. Just kidding. Daniel wasn't looking forward to the inevitable stress of the production, so I told him not to worry about it, Big Papa. I got this. You don't have to do anything. This will just be my thing, and you can just watch it when I upload it at a future date. But that went out the window pretty early on when Daniel stepped up to be an executive producer, figure out how to make AOL Instant Messenger work live on set, and then just straight up edit the whole movie.
Then I also had to recreate an old school MapQuest printout for directions. This is what we used to do in the olden days, kids. And so I recreated this in Photoshop based off an example I found. Just had to match the font and everything like that. Then I'm also mocking up a MySpace page for a T-Mobile Sidekick. We have a couple of these that the characters will be using. And so I'm trying to use some old examples and figure out what it really looked like to try to get it to match as accurately as possible.
Sorry, Big Papa.
Speaking of computers, we decided to hire our old pal Garndog to create motion graphics.
And while we're still hiring people, about 1 week before the shoot, after I'd sourced something like 400 pieces of wardrobe, accessories, wigs, and props, I realized that I was completely in over my head. After a brief cry at that gas station off Route 30 right before you get on I-65, I decided to hire Lalo to be our production designer, and a wardrobe stylist to execute on all the pieces that I'd been sourcing.
Finally, we hired Cassie to first AD, a crucial hire who helped us solve the puzzle of how in the actual heck we were going to shoot 27 pages in 10-ish hour days. More on that during the production part of this series.
Okay, now that's it. Next came the thing that I was the most excited to get into and then almost instantly absolutely dreaded. Casting. Before I get into the dirty deeds of casting, I just want to say that there were so many moments that happened throughout this whole process that made me feel overwhelmed with the love, care, and attention to detail that so many people put into my vision. And the entire casting process was just like brimming with those moments. I felt so lucky and honored that so many people took the time to not only memorize my script, but then get completely vulnerable in all of the self-tapes that they sent our way.
I'm serious.
And every time I watched one, I sent love and gratitude and hope for a successful career to the actor on the other side. And
Hopefully they felt that.
Yeah, I hope they felt that. And speaking of gratitude, I also felt grateful for Anthony Finelli, Daniel and Jess's pal and old workmate, who is an actor and casting director who showed me the ropes of using Breakdown Express. With his guidance, I was able to navigate and organize auditions, and Jess was able to correspond with talent for callbacks and offers. Here's how that process went.
First, list the job on Breakdown Express. We started by searching for talent in the local Chicagoland area and the general Midwest. We ended up hiring one brilliant Ohio actor from the bunch, but we didn't really find the perfect match for the 4 additional roles that we needed to cast, so we opened up submissions to LA, and then New York, and then basically the entire country. It was clear that we're gonna have to fly in most of the cast.
2, field the submissions. Once you list the job on Breakdown Express, you have to go through the photos, reels, and/or slates of the potential actors and determine who you'd like to see read for a particular role.
Hi, I'm Rachel Aspen. I'm 5'3" and located in New York.
This was the most daunting part of the entire process. In total, there were 4,206 submissions. If you see a casting director, give them a little hug. When we came across a standout submission, we marked their profile indicating that we wanted them to read for a particular part. Just sent them sides, and then that brought us to...
Watch and rate the auditions.
Neither of us are gonna have a good summer.
Far fewer self-tapes came in, and with each one it was quickly clear who was great for the role. So we rated each performance an A, B, or C based on how much they were a fit for the part. And then we went on to
chemistry reads. Once we whittled down our favorite picks, we scheduled Zoom calls for chemistry reads between the 2 leading actors and then the leading actor and her love interest. Once Daniel, Jess, and I all agreed on our favorites, we
sent out offers. This one is self-explanatory. All of the actors accepted within 24 to 48 hours, I think. It's all a blur at this point. And that's how casting all of the speaking roles went.
We also used Backstage to search for background talent, but didn't really receive any standout submissions. So I reached out to my high school's current drama club teacher to source extras for a party scene, and she came through. Wardrobe was a big, tedious part of this film since it takes place in 2006 and features hyper-specific styles. I put an ass ton of attention to detail, care, time, and money into sourcing authentic vintage pieces for each character. I sourced clothes, shoes, accessories, and wigs from Plato's Closet, thrift shops, and online stores like eBay and Poshmark. Since the shoot was happening in my former hometown, I brought or shipped every piece to my mom's house where she spent an ass ton of attention to detail, time, and care, washing, pressing, and hanging each item. I organized everything here and here, and then I took pictures of every combination that each character would wear for each scene and organized them in Milanote here. And then I handed it all off to a wardrobe stylist that we hired. Admittedly, it was a lot to keep track of, and I think she really tried her best, but one of the most soul-crushing parts of this whole process was the fact that many of the items that I sourced never made it to the set. We'll chalk it up as a learning experience and keep it moving though.
In case you're new around here, you might not know that we're longtime customers of Squarespace. It's our favorite all-in-one website platform for photographers to stand out and succeed online. Now it's never been easier to get started. You can start a completely personalized website with Squarespace Blueprint, a guided design system to help you build your online presence from the ground up. Easily launch your website and get discovered fast with integrated and optimized SEO tools, so you'll show up more often to more people and jump the way you want. And grow the way you want. Not only that, now you can make checkout seamless for your customers with simple but powerful payment tools. Accept credit cards, PayPal, Apple Pay, and in eligible countries, you can offer customers the option to buy now and pay later with Afterpay and ClearPay. How do you think I got this trampoline? There's an unrivaled suite of built-in visual design effects where you can engage all of your website visitors. Doesn't matter if photography sucks, these effects are so tight they won't even be looking at it. When you're ready to spring into action, go to squarespace.com/Mango Street. to get 10% off of your new website and domain. Jump in Jehoshaphat, that's a good deal.
Like the wardrobe, I sourced much of the set design in advance and cataloged them here and here. I also created these mood boards in Milanote so that I could more clearly articulate the vision in my head. When it came to designing the sets for the first and last scenes in particular though, I knew we had to bring in a pro, and we were so lucky to get Lalo on board for production design. He really brought the 2006 to our computer room, and he juggled what was probably like 3 to 4 people's jobs throughout the whole production with the help of Sam. Just a real stand-up job from both those guys.
At some point in the whirlwind pre-production process, we found, scouted, and locked in all of our locations. While we've always found this part to be a total headache when we'd shoot in LA, this was actually one of the easiest parts of this Midwestern shoot. Rachel's parents were kind enough to lend their home for 2 of the scenes. We quickly selected an Airbnb for another. A diner that Rachel used to frequent in college was available, and sicker than she remembered, and a parking lot also materialized last minute that worked out perfectly. The only part that proved tricky was the period cars that we had to rent for several of the scenes. Lucky for us, Jess and Marcos worked their magic and weathered those headaches for us. Marcos convinced a guy selling his 1988 Sentra to rent it to us for a couple of days, which was perfect for what we needed. Before we officially booked each spot, Jason, Rachel, and I visited each location in person to make sure they worked for us. And with Jason's nod of approval, we locked it in.
These babies will hit you in the face like a bad comb over. There were so many meetings, some in person, some over the phone, a lot over Zoom. There was at least 1 meeting with each department head and group meetings, and a lot of meetings with our AD Cassie, who did even more meetings without us.
Yeah, so that was the last call for the day. Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to take a shower at some point.
It's been a lot, I know.
The most important ones were with our DP Jason, where we parsed through my storyboard and shot listed and then slashed everything that wasn't necessary or timing wouldn't allow. They made me feel really ready for the production, which is what we're gonna get into in our next video.
All in all, pre-production lasted from mid-June to the end of August. We spent dollars. Stick around until the end of the series to hear that number uncensored.
And stay tuned for part 2, where we'll take you behind the scenes of all 4 days of shooting.
Next time on the short film series.
Not doing that, Jason!